The Gift by Benjamin A. DeShields. Tuesday, December 10th, 1991, began like any other workday, fighting traffic to work. As I approached my desk, one of my coworkers said, "Ben, call home immediately." My wife advised me to come home right away, although she would not say what was wrong. If you ever received this type of phone call, you have some idea what I was going through. Driving home, I tried to imagine what could have happened. When I arrived home, my wife informed me that my father had died. My mother had phoned the news. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, as memories of my life with him flashed through my mind. My entire body felt numb. I picked up the phone to call my mother. She explained that Dad had passed away in his sleep that morning. I told her that I would call the rest of the family and that I would be home as soon as I could. Most of the siblings lived out of town, although Ray lived in Salisbury. He was with my mother already. Kenny and our sister Medina both lived in Delaware. Wendell, who was in the Air Force, was in Maxwell Air Force Base, and Nate was in Virginia Beach. I lived in District Heights, Maryland. We all had plans to make the long ride home. It was only 2 days before Dad's birthday, December the 12th. On the evening of the 12th, one of Dad's cousins came to the house to speak to me and my brothers. Only 3 of us were there at the time. We went out to our cousin's car to talk. He told us that my father had another son. His name was Russell. We were shocked. As the initial shock wore off, he explained how he learned this information. One day while Russell was visiting in another town, he met my cousin's mother, who was visiting as well. Striking up a conversation, she mentioned to Russell that she had just come up from Salisbury, Maryland. Russell responded by saying that his father was in Salisbury. When asked what his father's name was, he gave her the name of our father. She looked at him in disbelief. Russell explained that my father had met his mother while he was in the military. Russell's mother worked on the base. Russell had been the product of their relationship. Although Russell had never met my father, he had the birth certificate papers with Dad's name on them, as well as a picture of Dad. Later, my cousin's mother came to see my father to talk with him about what he had found out. My father, however, became very upset. He didn't want to discuss it. My father was very protective of us, and he felt that this would only cause trouble for the family. This is how we came to be sitting in the car learning of what we call the gift. Once he had heard the story, we realized his relationship with Russell's mother had occurred before Dad had met Mother. When my father passed, Russell was contacted by my cousin and given the news of his death. Russell voiced a wish to be able to see my father and pay his last respects to him. Dad's cousin had Russell's phone number, so we gave him a call. By this time, all of my brothers had arrived, and I knew the story. Russell told us that he wanted to see his father and to have some closure to this missing link in his life. He stressed that he did not want to cause us any trouble and that he didn't want anything. He said that he would drive down to Salisbury, view the remains, and leave immediately afterwards. We assured him that it was okay and that we wanted to meet him. The next day, the day of Dad's funeral, we informed our sister of the news. At this point, everyone in the immediate family knew except our mother. As difficult as my dad's death and making his funeral arrangements were for her, we were not sure how to break the news to her. Collectively, we decided to wait until after the funeral to tell her. I did, however, share the news with my mother's sister, Romaine. Aunt Romaine decided that she would usher at the funeral service. She arrived at the church early to ensure everything was in order. She was informed by the funeral director that there was a man and his family who had arrived at the chapel and were going back and forth to view the body. Each time they would go to view the body, they would return in a very emotional state. The young man informed the funeral director that he was my father's son. But because we were from a relatively small town, the funeral director knew my entire family. Aunt Romaine told him that she knew who the gentleman was and immediately gave went over to assist him and his family. She introduced herself and reassured them that everything was fine. We later found out that they had planned to leave before the service started, but she convinced them to stay. After the service, Aunt Remain took Russell and his family to the dining hall where they waited for us to return from the cemetery. By this time, we were all anxious to get back to the church and meet our new brother. Each of us went over to introduce ourselves to Russell individually. By this time, people began to realize that something unusual was going on. We decided to break the news to our mothers soon, before someone else did. So in her hour of grief, we gathered around her and told her what we knew. Through her tears, she asked if he was there. She wanted to meet him. When he was pointed out to Mother, she went to him and hugged him. Other family members and friends had no clue as to what was going on, but it didn't take long for them to figure things out. Soon everyone began approaching him with open arms. It's often said that God moves in mysterious ways. I know it was nothing but divine intervention that led Russell to us for my father's birthday. What should have been a day of grief became one of new beginnings. It has been over just 10 years since we lost our father and found Russell. We all maintain a close relationship to this day. We were all recipients of the gift that could only have come from our Father from up above. Amen.